So last time we were getting stuck on hooking up Effection and getting the events from TMI.js into a stream of Effection events. And I ended up doing a little bit of work off stream to figure out what the deal with that was. And I don't think I got the code anymore. VS Code is taking a sweet time. I gotta bump up OBS performance too. So we were using the Effection events. Come on. Computer's struggling today. There we go. Also, the process manager, I think, is just... Yeah, I open up the process manager and holy drop frames. Is it still going up? I think it's settled now. Okay. So, yes, streams. We were pretty sure I committed the code, so we can look at it. We were using the streams. Stream overlay. And we had this use resources, something different. Oh, I didn't end up actually committing that. So we were using the front side Effection streams and events. Sorry, we were using events, and we were using the on event. I did not realize that that is more than just an event listener, but it also pipes this. This is actually like a stream. And you need to subscribe to the stream, otherwise it's just gonna like go away when you yield. Doing a for each is a way to subscribe to that. But the way we had it set up, we were basically like setting up the event listener and then just dropping it on the floor. There was nothing to like keep it around, which was fine. So then, like, I mean, I guess it wasn't fine. Oversight, but we've got that figured out, and we started doing. The other part of the issue was Effection React was kind of missing another hook called use resource. So within Effection, there's a thing called resources, and that's sort of what we're standing up, because we want this long-lived thing, and then we want to like subscribe to the events that it's returning. So there was a couple like insufficient code that we had going on there. So got that all figured out. I think, yeah, I copy and pasted this hook in to my repo. We're gonna end up, I presume it's gonna be published in Effection within a reasonable time frame. And that's using some of the use operation, but here, boundary. That actually kind of feels like use operation. How's the resource actually? Oh, we ended up tweaking a little bit. I guess that makes sense. Yeah, okay, so we've got the use Twitch. So we hooked it up to this use resource. So now we have a resource called use Twitch. Where are we? Where's use Twitch? Oh, use Twitch pulls the context out of there. With Twitch. Here we go. And then this is where we use the resource. And within the init, we're actually doing the client connection, and we're returning the client. So we set up a resource, and we're returning the client and the resource. So now anything can basically subscribe to that. So you use Twitch gives you the actual client, and then you can create a stream like inline essentially. And the use stream here, we've got an on event similar to what we were doing before. Same sort of basic concept. And then we don't run into that issue where we're like trying to subscribe to the event and then it's like going out of scope. And then the use stream is handling all the state. So every time that every event that comes in, we're changing the state and it's dropping the state into this component. And that was fine. And that all worked. We were golden. But what we were missing was, so TMI.js is event-based. It uses client.on. So that's why we're using the Effection events. The thing that TMI.js does not handle is there are parts of the API where you can't, there's information in Twitch that you can't rely strictly on the IRC chat to grab. Yeah, like you need an OAuth token for some stuff, but this is still strictly chat. So the one of the things that this starts to fall down on, they had, I feel like they don't really have a good way to get to it on here, but in their docs repo, they have posts. Here we go. 1.4.2 events. Yeah, I don't know how on their website you can get to this. Feels like there's just something missing. So there's all these events, and they've got this helpful note. Some events will only be fired if you're logged in. Knowing which events would be nice. But also stream title. We want to, right? I didn't change it. Or is it over there? I don't remember. Channel point redemptions. That's missing in this list. So that's kind of an important thing. And we can't get to it strictly through TMI.js. And the reason I went with TMI.js is because I thought the event syntax would be nice to work with. Which I wasn't wrong about that. But it's just, this isn't going to give us the full picture. So after I had it all working, I grabbed Comfy.js instead, which we had originally talked about on the stream. It is doing this like function overload thing where it's got this object that you import and then you overload the functions that it has and then you initialize it. And then it will call these functions. It'll call your overloaded functions instead of like their default no-op ones. And that's not amazing to work with the way I'm integrating it with everything else. It works fine if it's just like a script tag on a page. Like that seems to be clearly what it was intended to be for. And that's why we didn't originally choose it. But if we open up the code to see what else it's additionally doing, you might see some pub sub stuff here. And it is opening up a socket here, new WebSocket to pub sub edge twitch.tv. And that's where a bunch of these things like rewards come from. And channel part redemptions, rewards, I think they're the same. I think that's what on reward is. So we would, if we were using Team.js, we would have to hook up all the socket stuff, which I was not particularly interested in doing. So I made the switch back over I ended up making the switch to Comfy.js. It's not really back. We weren't using it before. And this involved pulling back in the create channel as we had been experimenting with before. So before we were trying to create a channel, but we already had a stream coming from the event. But now what I'm doing is being cheeky and just overloading all of the functions, creating a channel and piping all of those values into our channel. So then the Twitch or the use Twitch that we have actually returns a channel, which is a stream. And then we can within any of our components, we can do Ustream. And I think since this is a stream, Twitch client is a stream, I think we can still do stream like modifications. So we can do this kind of stuff. So we can still map over it and like make everything uppercase or modify or filter. Yeah, I think that should be fine. So we switched that all over. We got that hooked up. We can do start it up. We should start getting some events in here. Oh, hey, Nikki. How's it going? Glad to have you. So right now, I think we're just dumping them all into the console. And you can see here, we're starting to get events. So we were really close. There was like 3 or 4 like big issues that we had. Not big as in like, they were difficult to parse through and figure out why it was happening and deal with it. Yeah, see, there we go. We're getting a bunch of the join events. Hello, stream elements. Hey, Nikki. There you are. I joined. So now if we do any chats or we do any channel point redemptions, those are also going to show up here. So we're getting that all through Comfy.js right now, which is nice. And actually, Nikki, since I know you've been working on it a little bit too, the showmy.chat that Ben started, we were talking about doing events in there, and I was actually looking at hooking up Effection in there as well. So this project is sort of also going to be doing a lot of what we can do with events there. So I've learned a few things, and I'm probably going to go back and incorporate some of those into the PR that I have open. So we have events, and we have these events in. Let's go. Whoop, go back here. I don't care about webhint right now. Thank you. We started redoing the last 3 days of event of code, which I copied code for previously. They're hard. Yeah. I've never actually done it, but I've watched people do it, mostly on stream. And I feel like it's a lot of parsing the questions that they're asking. Like they have a whole paragraph of text that has a story behind it, and really you just need to pull out the bits that tell you what you're trying to do. And sometimes that's not clear. I feel like that's a lot of the difficulty. Which like that's sort of a thing. But even if you can correctly do that and understand exactly what they're expecting of you, it still is not easy code. So, props to you for pulling that back up. I would like to do it eventually. I just haven't had the time and interest to put into it. I mean, I have the interest, but it's the combination of the enough interest to make the time. Maybe that's the best way to say it. I kind of like doing projects like this. This is the kind of stuff that I feel like I learn best and have the most fun with. Okay, so we've got in our frame the Twitch client, and we're logging out all events right now. So Nikki just chatted. We see that here. Another thing that we ran into previously was there seems to be some sort of React portal thing going on with the model.js. Refs and such that it actually has if we pull up the React component tree, it has this whole separate like provider and scope. You can see model is showing up here. This one of the issues that we were having is when we were setting up our React context. Originally, I had to put it in the model because that's where it felt like it made the most sense. But it just straight up didn't work, and we couldn't figure out why for quite a bit of time. And eventually figured out that it's doing some of this, and by putting it in here, it actually falls outside of the provider scope that we have with Effection and with Twitch here. So I moved it back up to the frame, and so it's sort of at a little bit higher scope. But I mean, I think that's fine. I suspect as we extend this, we're going to have multiple frames, and the model is going to be kind of just contained within there. So I don't know if it feels like it makes sense. You've been using them as an excuse to mess around with and learn Rust. Yes. Yeah. I both appreciate that use case, but also, like we were saying, they're not easy. I feel like it's hard to learn a new language while working on AOC. I think I could do advent in a code, JavaScript and TypeScript. I don't know that I would be comfortable like jumping in and trying to use Rust for that. I can read Rust pretty decent. I can write Rust-ish with Rust Analyzer. I don't know if I could get very far in advent of code with Rust. But definitely more power to you. It's cool to see people dive into it in that way, especially Rust too. Rust has got a soft spot in my heart. Okay, so we've got a model, we've got events. I'm assuming they're not doing anything too fancy with the model, so I think we can pass down props. I'm hoping that we can kind of just do something like this. And we'll see what we get in our model. Are we still? Yeah, we're still logging out. Let's remove this. And that will be, I think that's gonna be props that I was getting goofed up like that. You see Parcel RC, this is Parcel 2, yes. I like Parcel. And it's built on top of SWC, which is Rust based, which I also like and appreciate. I feel like SWC is going to have a stronger long-term impact. So I like to support it if I can. We have run into some issues, and I suspect some of that is potentially with the plugin that I'm using, but also it sounds like it might just be personal things too. So we've got the static file plugin, which shows up in the Parcel C as well. I've had caching issues where it is like caching real hard, like way more than I would expect it to be. To where a lot of my like hot reloading just doesn't seem to work. Oh well, that's an error. But like there was a whole stream where we were trying to get textures to work, and the texture in our model just wasn't working. Partly because something in there was cached, and despite me updating the path to the texture in I think it was in the GLTF file, it didn't actually reflect it when like when it was running in the server. I think I ended up like re-rolling my node modules and like hard, doing a right click empty cache and hard reload. Then I think I've narrowed it down to where like empty cache and hard reload does a good chunk of it, but also you can occasionally clear out the parcel cache. But I think that has been, I've used Parcel in a bunch of places or in a bunch of projects, and I like it. But particularly on this project, the cache has really been frustrating to work with because it has hot reloading. So I don't know if it's something in the Parcel cache or if it's in the browser that it's doing that, or what what the deal is. But so let's just log out props here. Let's see what we're getting for props. Oh. Oh yeah. Okay. Yeah. I did. I'm gonna do that. So some of it too is like I think it's something to do with GLTF. Twitch event. Twitch event is not defined at frame. Is it not liking this syntax? Can you not do shorthand in I guess I can just do this. Okay, so we should be, well, we're giving a Twitch event. We're still logging out props. Yeah. Oh, there we go. See, that's a, like when it hot reloaded, it was still the old one. Like I think that's still the old version. Because if I do a hard reload, then we get this. And that kind of stuff is what's been kind of goofing me up here. Frame 25. Twitch event is not defined. Ah, okay. Do I just wanna? I guess it's fine if it's undefined. So I can do let Twitch event. There we go. So now we're getting a Twitch event with that. So now every time we do any sort of log or anything or a message, I think it does emoji replacements too. It's going to be nested in there. So now that we have it like in our model, let's do Twitch event and then the rest of the props. So now we should have a, it's just logging out empty props, which is cool with me. So now we've got this Twitch event that we can act on. So right now we've got, it does random action every time we click on it. There you go, on click. On click, we get a list of actions. I'll actually move this up. This gives us a random action. Actually, I want to keep that down there because that's specifically for this click event. So what we could do is I don't know if it's gonna like re-render this every time. I don't think it is. So like I think that's gonna be relatively static. Let's log out a list of actions and then we can hook those up to the events. And we can just do like exclamation mark commands. We should be able to essentially control the animations. So like this is the options right now. Is this gonna paste nicely? Yeah, gonna. I don't think it will, but yeah, it's fine. They are all one word. So we can say we want to grab, say, if Twitch event dot event. It's not event, right? I stopped logging it out too, didn't I? Yep. I think it's Twitch event dot event is a message. We're going to log out Twitch event just to help us out a little bit, but then we're gonna do gonna say message action, and we're gonna grab it from the text. So we're gonna say Twitch event I think it's .args. I think the second one is the message. Find out how much I remember. I'm gonna split on a base. We're gonna take the first arg. So that should give us basically the command. And we can say if message action starts with an exclamation mark. Then we're gonna try doing in action. So here we're doing an action, and then we roll back to play. I'm not going to bother with the armature stuff. Hey, welcome. We are working on a project using React. Let me get it right. React 3 Fiber. I always mix those up. React 3 Fiber, pulling in a model, hooking it up to the Twitch API to where you can type a command and it will do an animation of the model. And I think we're just about there to get a command doing a thing. So if the message action starts with that, we are going to take the message action. It's a hard variable to say. Message action. I'm going to fill in our armature that. So then all you need to do is type in the last bit. Never used React, to be honest. It's nice. I'm definitely not a tribal type of person. Vue and Angular and what have you all have their place as well. I've used React for a fair amount of time, so it's sort of the thing that I'm most familiar with. And also, this is a pretty dope library. So that's a big part of why I went with React for this project. This is helpers and React components on top of three.js. So if you've ever heard of three.js, sort of built on top of it. And they've got a handful of libraries. We're also using Drei. I'm presuming it's the German pronunciation there. And that includes a bunch of helpers in there as well. I don't know that we're going to use much of the other stuff that they have going on, but definitely these first two libraries. So that was a big driver of behind why I went with React for this project. So I think we've got it all hooked up now. Did we save? We saved. So let's double check to make sure. Oh, we're logging that out. Probably screwed up the Twitch event. So now I think if one of y'all type something, it should show up here. Here's an on chat. It is an event. Oh, it's an on chat event. So that's why we're not getting into here. So if it's an on chat event, and it is the second arg that shows it. Did I make the model in Blender or import it? I imported it. Let me clarify that. There are a handful of websites out there where you can actually download models. And there are multiple formats of models that like file formats that you can have. This is specifically GLTF, which is a newer file format. Blender can export models with animations as GLTF. And we have done past streams. It's been a while. we'll probably end up going back into Blender and making something ourselves. So this will eventually become like a stream overlay is the eventual idea behind this. But this specific model, yeah, it's a free asset. There, I can't remember what website I got it off of, but this is actually a model created by the Smithsonian Museum. That's like public domain, and then somebody else took it and added the animations on top of it and released it with the same license. So yeah, this is actually one of their scans from the Smithsonian Museum. I presume in Washington D.C. It's pretty sweet. So it's really cool that they've been starting to do that. I think Kronos. I'm not sure what you're asking about Kronos. Oh, the website. Kronos is the group that defines the spec for GLTF. I don't know if they do anything more than that. You might know more than I do there. Oh, where I got it. No, it's a. I'll just see how Google can help us. Free 3D asset models. Models is a better word. Thank you, Google. It's one of the bigger ones. Sketchfab. They have a lot of stuff there too. But I specifically found one with the GLTF export because that's the file type that I know I could get working. And I also want to use Blender and export GLTF. But React, is it Drei? I think Drei has a GLTF loader built into it, which is, where are you? Loaders, use GLTF. It does not say. I'm pretty sure this is built on top of the three.js loader, which I believe is built on top of the stuff that one of the SDKs or something that GLTF did. Thanks for the follow. So that's why I was using GLTF. It's a file format that I am interested in using, and I knew I could get compatibility between everything that I was doing. So we've got a model, we've got some chat events. So now if you do, we've got a couple things. If you do exclamation, I don't know if case sensitivity matters, but if you do exclamation mark roar, we should get the action changing. Do we have any logs? No, we did not do any logs. Let's do console.log. Try playing the action. And like I think that sort of hits on all the little pieces that I wanted to do. I did want to look into the animation stuff a little bit more to see. Docs, right? Oh, I guess okay. They don't have a website for it. Oh yeah, they've got storybook. So we're use GLTF. So they've got some examples in here. I thought I had controls. And we are also doing the use animations. So like there's a bunch of things that we can do with it. Like we can, like the animation stuff is pretty sweet. You can animate between a bunch of these. And it does all the transition stuff, which is awesome. Is there anything that we wanted to look into with the use animations? Yeah, that one was smooth. I know. I'm gonna like get into Blender and be like, okay, it's not gonna look as good as that. But if we do like exclamation mark roar, are we gonna get chat event? Oh, on command. Oh, they do some of the parsing for us. Nice. Okay. So we want, what does the API look like for that? We get args and we do get the command directly. Okay. I don't know if this is going to be case sensitive, but we can scrap all of this basically. And this is going to be dot args. And I think it was second one. Yeah, 3D just takes so much time. No joke. I've done a fair amount of modeling in my day, but I've not used Blender much. I used it very briefly, I think when version 3 came out. Have you used Blender at all? One Punch? I used it when 3.0 first came into beta. Played around with it a bunch, and basically haven't picked it up since. I've done modeling with other programs, and some of it does translate, but I feel like I'm gonna have to do a lot of the learning. A bit, but nothing to brag about. Yeah, I feel that. Okay. So you did a command. It's gonna try to play the action and cannot read properties of undefined. So we're doing Twitch event dot args. It should be the second one. I don't know if it's just gonna like lowercase everything on us. So if we do like that, we might need to do some mangling it into. It feels like one of those things that if you spend a good 30, 50, 80, 100 hours on something, like, I mean, it's a lot. It's definitely an investment. But if it's something you're interested in, Blender seems to be sort of the big thing to do it in now. And it's free. Like the open source thing is really sweet, and you can see the whole like project roadmap and everything. And if you're interested in putting that time investment into it, it seems like one of those things where you can really make something awesome with a week or two worth of like full-time effort into learning it. And it's not like it seems like you can make some really sweet stuff. Put like 2 weeks, like take a week of vacation and just work on it the whole time. And like the difference that you'll see in from when you first started learning it to what you can make, I think is going to be like substantial. You can do anything pretty much, I think. Yeah, and it's got some really new, like the animation stuff seems really dope. It has this thing called grease pencils, which you can do like 2D ish stuff, like 2D in 3D, which is pretty sweet. Grab a drink here. So yeah, I mean, I've always kind of been interested in 3D models, and it feels like the right time to kind of get back into it. I have a background in structural engineering, so we used a lot of a program called Revit and AutoCAD. So a lot of my modeling experience is in the container of buildings. And it has a plugin called Blender BIM. Yeah, somebody made a plugin that within Blender. Oh, they're still calling it alpha. Interesting. You can literally do building stuff, which is pretty sweet. I kind of feel like, I mean, it's a different type of modeling. And the file format that they put out is a file format that the industry hasn't, well, the software for the building industry hasn't supported well because they want to make people pay for the proprietary stuff. But it's pretty cool. I want to play around with this at some point too. Catching up on chat here. Have you ever used Natron? Can't say that I have. It does not ring any bells. I don't know if it's good for mixing 2D and 3D though. I've been thinking about making some 3D like card game at some point, but I needed After Effects. Yeah, look at the Blender greasy pencil. I don't know how great it is for 2D. Well, I want the cool videos. Give me the Okay, Blender. Let's just go to your homepage. Oh, this might actually grease pencil. Yeah, okay. So you can do grease pencil. And actually, I know there's a video. I just watched it today, actually. What's new? So Blender 3.1. I'll drop this in the chat. This shouldn't be coming through. Good. And they show some new stuff with the grease pencils. Right around here, yeah. There was a scene where they're doing like a 3D of it, which was really cool. I think it's somewhere right around this timestamp. Somewhere right around here, I think. But yeah, if you're interested in the grease pencil stuff, I would give that a watch. They have a couple examples in there. You've heard Natron is supposed to work similar to After Effects. As far as I understand, I guess I haven't used After Effects much. I never ran into a use case where I needed to use it, and I've used programs in the surrounding ecosystem, but not really After Effects itself. I've got a bunch of the social links down below. You can feel free to like tweet me or something too. I probably don't check my Twitch messages super often. Unless like feel free to, you can drop a video in the chat. That's fine. I can open it on the side or whatever. I'm not expecting you to, do anything malicious, but it's good to be safe, But mixing 2D and 3D. So but you needed After Effects. It's really dependent on what game engine I think you're using too. So Blender is more for like 3D assets. And open it up on the side here. I'm gonna get stuck in an ad, but as far as I understand, After Effects tends to be more for video. So like you can do video stuff with it. I'm not sure how well that incorporates into games. So like this, as far as I know, definitely not an expert, so don't take my word for it, but like this is going to give you a video, which you might be able to pull into, depending on the game engine, you might be able to pull it in. Skip to the end. I'm guessing they do a example of it. Yeah. So like DaVinci Resolve, which is one of the other big video editing programs, has a thing called Fusion, and you can do similar stuff too. So this ends up giving you like a video file. I don't know how useful that is. I mean, you could bring assets in to game engines. Like that's definitely a thing. So it's possible that you can make a video and pull that in to like you could pull it into a model or something like that. But if you're doing game stuff, particularly like 3D or 3D and 2D, I think you want to do more of the modeling side of stuff. I don't know how much After Effects is going to help you there. Because so one game engine that I've worked a little bit with, and I've got a friend that has been doing a bunch of workshops on it, is called Bevy. It's written in Rust. It is, I guess they don't specifically say 2D anymore, but it does do 3D. Yeah, I guess they pretty much. It used to be more of like a 2D thing, but they've gotten into 3D stuff more recently too. And you can bring in GLTF into here, and Unity is also the big one. So there's more of these like open source type game engines, which might specifically like it might have specific support for some of this. And I think there is actually like Unity's got Unity. Is Unity the one with Rust bindings? No, I guess not. What is that other game engine? I would basically look at what Unity supports. Godot. There we go. This is the other big. This is kind of a alternative to Unity, as far as I understand. Except open source. Like that's the big difference. So like if you use Unity and you make a game, and you're relying on their game engine, they will like take a cut of your I'm pretty sure that's how the pricing model works. They take a cut of the game revenue. Godot potentially less polished, but you've got less restrictions, I guess would maybe be the best way to say it. As far as like that kind of stuff. Different restrictions. Maybe that's a better way to say it. Like if you work in the Unity environment, it's probably easier to get it on the Unity game store. Like that's the whole other side of it. So like if you actually want to make a game or something to where it goes on a game store, that's a whole nother can of worms. If you're just trying to make like an executable that you can send out a friend, your options are a little bit less scoped. But this has got a couple different bindings, I think, to it too. And this has more of like a Blender like environment. Yeah, okay, so that's specifically HUD. So you can do an After Effects thing, and then it basically comes into a game as like, yeah. So you're basically bringing in at that point a video file as like an asset into Unity, and then like within the game you're basically triggering the that media to play or to show up or to move or wherever. So it's just like a static thing. Um, I mean, I don't think it necessarily. Well, I would. I'd presume that anything you can get out of After Effects is going to effectively be 2D once it gets pulled into Unity or what have you, because it's basically just like a video file that you're playing. You can do the like skew and like put it onto things, so you can take like a picture and use tracking or whatever and attach it to an entity. But it's going to be like inherently like a 2D thing, which is why it works well for HUDs. I'd presume that most of what you're going to see as far as After Effects in something like Unity would be HUD, because HUD is sort of like a 2D overlay. You can have a transparent object with rotation and convert degrees to time on MP4. Yeah, I mean you can. There's tricks to make things that are 2D look like they're 3D. Perspectives and some of the like side-scrolling 2D games, they do the parallax thing. So like you've got the background. Oh, let's do it backwards. You've got the background here, you've got the foreground here, and they move like this. And that creates the effect of 3D. Which there's probably a good 2D parallax. Yeah, there we go. Unity. Random YouTube links can't be a bad thing, right? So you can see there's basically like a bunch of 2D assets in here. So like you can, there's like 3D, there's like full 3D, and then there's like 2D that feels like 3D. If Flappy Bird might be a good example, yeah. And then you're doing 2D and you're making it feel like 3D, but that also opens up the door where you can use 2D elements. So you can via trickery basically make it feel like 3D, and you can use After Effects stuff to do that. And that's sort of that other video that you shared. That is basically doing that. It's taking like a 2D thing and it's within the card is doing the parallax stuff. And that's what makes the like interior of the card look 3D. So yeah, it's going to be completely dependent on the game engine, and like what you're trying to do, I guess, and how you're bringing it in. And so Blender is primarily a modeling program. It will give you models that you can pull into other things, and it's got multiple different types of exports. One of the file types is GLTF, and that tends to be, as far as I've seen, that tends to be pretty compatible with bringing it into various game engines or the within the web browser too. And I mean, like, it doesn't necessarily need to be a hard choice. Like, it could very well be just you want to figure out game engine stuff, and as you get into it, there's different considerations as far as 3D versus 2D, and you might end up liking one versus the other. So like just deciding purely on the fact of do I want to do one versus the other, you might not actually know until you try and see which one you enjoy doing more of. But with WebGL in the browser, you are able to do 2D and 3D stuff. And you can do like SVGs and Canvas to do strictly just 2D stuff. But I think as it is right now, for the most part, if you want to do 3D, you have to use WebGL. But a lot of this is starting to go across, where you could actually do. I was actually just talking about this last night. You can make a model in Blender, export it as a 3D asset, but then put it in like a 2D game, I think. And like you could do like the old Zelda top-down isometric type games too, where it's like 2D, but it's looks kind of 3D. What's that one? No, not Hades. I think that's actually a 2D game. Is it Hades? Game. Yeah, it is. I was right. Is it Wikipedia? Is it actually a 2D game? I don't know if they're going to say here. Release, reception. I want to say this is actually a 2D game. Whoop. No, I don't want to bookmark. Remove. Thank you. 2D? Not going to help me out. 3D. Isometric 2D. That's what I'm thinking. I wanted something to confirm my assumption. Or presumption, I guess. So yeah. Play around with it. Kind of figure out which game engine you want to use. See what it can do. I kind of just presumed that you were familiar with it, which is a poor assumption. I don't know if this is I think this is their official site. It's a pretty dope game. I haven't actually played it, but I've watched people play it before. Friends play it on Discord or what have you. Seems really well done. Real well done. But yeah, it kind of feels like figure out what game engine you want to do and what type of modeling and creating of assets you like to do. If you want to do more modeling, that might be more 3D stuff. But just because you do models doesn't necessarily mean it has to be 3D, I don't think. Okay. It was a big game. I think it was one of the like big indie games for 2020 or 2021 or something. Well received. So, yeah, pick the game engine, and then you need to figure out how you make the assets. And some of that might be able to be done right in the game engine. In the case of like Godot or Unity, if you're using something like Bevy RS, the Rust library, if you're doing 2D or 3D, there's other things to help you out there. I mean, if you're doing 2D, at the end of the day, you can kind of use, just like Photoshop to do a lot of it kind of stuff. Or you don't even have to use Photoshop, but I think a lot of it is going to be dictated by the game engine. And in this case, since we're doing browser stuff, what we're doing is dictated by basically what this library can handle and what loaders it can use. So we've got, for the most part, GLTF and just WebGL in general, I think is for the most part just this kind of stuff. So that's basically my scope. Like, however I make the thing, as long as it ends up being GLTF, like I can make it show up in here. And GLTF is a spec that describes like animations and such as well. You love C#, so you probably end up doing Unity for the game engine. I think Godot is C# as well. And they got bindings for other stuff. I'm pretty sure there's a Godot Rust. Yeah, C sharp. Then they got a go.script thing as well, but C sharp. Yeah. Yeah, there's a couple different sprite sheets and tile stuff. If you're interested in the, I mean, it seems like you're kind of into the C sharp, but there's like tile map creators and stuff such that you can use. But yeah, in the scope of this project, got to use GLTF. And I wanted a 3D. I can do 2D with just general web browser stuff and animations for the most part, but I wanted the 3D. Is Godot free? Yes, it's open source. I mean, technically, you can use Unity for free as well, so it's sort of a, it's free like. But Godot is a what license do they have? GitHub. View license. I guess it's just is it a non-standard license? I think they're just using like a general open source license. I don't think they're actually using a like spec. Oh, okay. I guess it just doesn't say in the license file. MAT. Yeah, so Godot is completely open source. So support, I presume, is going to be well, support as in like, are you looking for tech support, or support as in like what can it do? Presuming the latter, I am not sure offhand, but I'm pretty sure it can. So I'll let you look into that. I don't know enough offhand, but I'm pretty sure it can do functionally all the same stuff that Unity would. Typing is hard. I understand. Well, communicating is hard. Typing, typing is dependent on other things. Okay, so we've got failures, and it's trying to do play on one of these actions that doesn't exist. So we need to. Is there an easy way to do a Pascal case? JS Pascal case? Probably not, eh? I don't know that there's going to be an easy way to do a Pascal case. And it is it actually giving me the raw stuff too? So it does the command. I get a thing called rollback, but it's actually like been changed. Can we get the actual message? No. We cannot get the actual message. All right. Well, for how do we want to do this? All right, I'm just gonna map it. I don't know if there's gonna be any other easy way to do it. So we're just gonna say let action text equal. Guess we can do a switch statement. And we want to do this. Oh, it's going to be fall. Action text equals that. Action text equals that. I need a default case, which is fine. And then also we'll make that the default case. What am I screwing up in my switch case? JS switch case. Case. I forgot to prepend it with case. Okay. So we got idle ground, we got rise up, we have roar, roar to walk, and walk. And then action text is going to be this. And then we will just make these all underscore, or lowercase rather. Roar to walk. Okay. Now we should be able to run these commands and see it do the thing. So it is currently not doing anything. So if we say, there we go. Some of these actions are like, I think it's transitioning between them. Fall should be obvious. So it doesn't seem to update every time we do a new command. So it says we're trying to play the action. But we're still walking. We're not getting any errors. Walk. All right, let's try refresh. Zoom out. What time we got? Or to walk. I think it's doing the roar. I can't really tell though. So we're getting the on command. Let's log out the action text. Oh, I'm not breaking out of this. So it's just falling into the default every time. So now if I do a fall, there we go. And we should be able to also do if this equals stop, then we're going to do an actions dot, it's just actions dot stop. So now we should be able to do guess it's not use animations. This gives us scenes, animations, and then we do actions on the scene. Take a pre-existing route. So I guess you're just saying play on a specific action. So there's not like a way to stop. So in our case, we've got I guess we don't have this idle ground. I guess that's kind of the thing to do then. Let's take that out. Let's take this out. So this would be like the stop case. And we can do roar to walk. That was a weird view. It's hard to tell like what the animations on this aren't super amazing. Idle ground. I think some of this is actually the model. And I think that starts to get back into it is it is using animation mixer. And animation mixer is doing abstracts animation mixer. So if we log out animations and we log out actions, oop, I got actions already. What is that? What is that giving us? Yes, yes. That's all coming out of basically the GLTF file. So like if we would look in that file, we would have like that basically. So all we're really doing is calling the play, which this is just helpers over the top of basically this animation clip, which is the animation mixer, I believe. There is an actual stop here. You hear the airplane? I could hear that through my headphones. I don't know if you can actually use these directly, because some of the stuff like the dot stop might actually be useful. And like, I mean, I guess some of it comes with like unmounting it, but for the most part, all we're doing is we're just doing play. So most of our work, I think, is going to end up happening in Blender or whatever model we end up making. And coming back around to how the model was made, we used this library that took a GLTF and converted it to a JSX, which then gave us access to some of these pieces within it. So this is like the JSX equivalent of the model, to where the skin meshes the whole thing. So it's, some of this is sort of dependent on how well the model was made with animation in mind. The fact that this was created by the Smithsonian Museum, taken and then animated on top of it, I suspect we can probably find models that are better, specifically in the context of doing animations. So like this is pretty sweet. What time we got? I wonder if we try to grab this model real quick. Vector 3. Storybook knobs. Animation controllers. So let's see here. You can see the skin mesh stuff. There is a GLB that it's pulling it from. And yeah, you can see here, you can see some of the like parts of it are, it's like broken up into parts. So there's multiple skin meshes that combine into this whole model right here. And it's using GLB, which is the binary format of GLTF. So they're effectively interchangeable as far as what most of the libraries are doing. So I think we're at the point where like we understand how we can hook this up. We're getting events. We can hook them up into channel point redemptions. So like if we do let's do a posture check, because I am slouching. We should see, of course I turned it off, didn't I? Yep. Console.log, Twitch event. Here's the Twitch events. Now if we would do a channel point redemption, it should come through. Oh, so that's the other thing. I've got it hard coded to just use my username, but you also need an OAuth token for some of this stuff. So I don't actually have the OAuth token hooked up. So we're only getting a connection to, I don't have the OAuth token hooked up into the this instance right now. I've got like I think I can do like that, and I can hook it up to the channel point redemptions. But so right now we're just getting the chat, IRC chat, because that doesn't require auth. And that's why we're not actually seeing those. But if I put that token in there, we would get that. So yeah, I think we're at the point where we, maybe next time we start thinking about how we want to do our modeling and such. I don't think it makes sense to try to pull something in right now, but we might end up doing Blender next time. Seeing if we could get something out of there and animated. That is probably going to be more involved than one stream, though. But we've got everything wired up to handle that. And actually, I suppose I could. We could drop this in as a stream overlay right now. Let's see. I guess I'll just put it as a browser source over the top. Browser. Grab this window so y'all can see what I'm doing. So OBS is the program that I use to stream. It is relatively common as far as streaming goes to use this program or a program that is built on top of this. OBS is an open source program. I believe it's obsstudio.org. I don't need access to that, do I? There it is. So we can do some stuff with, we'll have to go like this. We can do, oh, here, why don't I just do this? There, so that's in a browser on my scene. And it should be hooked up to the Twitch chat and everything. So like we could do this. Obviously we will have to, when we pull in the model that we're planning to use longer term, set the correct view and perspective immediately when it loads, because it's not easy to actually like go in and play around with that browser. At least it's not something that I would want to like do on stream. So like in there, I can click in there and I can interact with it. It's gonna be weird showing it on here, but here's the interaction here. So I can like zoom out here. So like I could set it up like that every time. Kind of a pain though. Kind of a pain. But doing it this way, like we can have essentially a 3D model that we can play around with on that shows up like within the stream that is hooked up to commands, which is pretty cool. It's pretty fun. So we'll have to play around with Blender next time a little bit. I think that's going to be the thing to do, and we can get a model going in Blender, get it hooked up with some animations. May or may not happen while within the same stream. Nice. The other scene doesn't show commands. Yeah, we can get it all hooked up to the Twitch chat to where when you do commands or whatever, the model that we make in Blender could then be dropped right into the stream here. So I think it'll be pretty fun. Pretty fun. But that is probably going to be our topics for the next couple streams at least. And that's not something we're going to get into today. So I think we're going to call it here. Thanks for stopping by. Happy Friday. Be it morning or evening or wherever you are. Have a good weekend. And I'll see you next time. Bye.